This is a reenactment of Chapter 10 of Huckleberry Finn, where Huck dresses up as a girl and talks to a woman. Huck is played by Lauren, the woman is played by Sydney, and the narrator is played by Claire. Action!
Come in, take a chair. What might your name be?
Sarah Williams.
Whereabouts do you live? In this neighborhood?
No, ma'am, in Hookerville, 7 miles below. I've walked all this way and I'm so tired out.
And hungry too, I reckon. I'll find you something.
No, ma'am, I ain't hungry. I was so hungry I had to stop 2 miles below here at a farm. So I ain't hungry no more. It's what makes me so late. My mother's down sick and out of money and everything. And I come to tell my uncle, Obler Moore. He lives at the upper end of town. She says, I ain't never been here before. Do you know him?
No, but I don't know quite everyone yet. I haven't lived here 2 weeks. It's considerable ways to the upper end of town. You better stay here all night. And take off your hat.
No, I'll rest a while, I reckon, and go on. I ain't afeard of the dark.
Basically, she told about her family and husband down the river. She thought she might have made a mistake in coming here. She even told about Huck and Tom finding the $12,000, Pat being a hard lot, and onto where Huck, was murdered.
Who done it? We've heard considerable about these goings-on in Hookerville, but we don't know who it was that killed Huck Finn.
Well, I reckon there's a right smart chance of people here that'd like to know who killed him. Some think old Finn done it himself.
No, is that so?
Most everybody thought it at first. He'll never know how close he comes getting lynched. But night before, they changed around and judged it was done by some runaway slave named Jim.
Why, Huck...
Huck stopped and reckoned he'd be still. She kept making conversation and never noticed Huck had said anything at all.
The slave ran off the very night that Huck was killed. So there's a reward out for him, $300. And there's a reward out for old Finn, too, $200. You see, he'd come to town the morning after the murder and told about it, and was out on the ferry, the boat hunt, and right after he up and left. Before night, they wanted to lynch him, but he was already gone. Well, next day they found out the slave was gone, and they found out he hadn't been seen since 10 o'clock the night of the murder. So they put it on him. And while they was full of it, next day comes back old Finn went boo-hooing to the judge, Thatcher. The judge gave him some money, and that evening Finn got drunk and was around till after midnight, and then went off with some strangers. He ain't come back since then, and they ain't looking for him. For people thinks that now he killed his boy, and fixed things to make it look like Robert's done it. And he'd get Huck's money without having to bother with a lawsuit. People say he wasn't too good to have done it. You can't prove anything on him. Soon, everything will be quieted down, and he'll walk in Huck's money as easy as nothing.
Yes, I reckon so, ma'am. I don't see nothing in the way of it. Has everybody quit thinking the slave done it?
Oh, no, not everybody. But they'll get the slave pretty soon, and maybe they can scare it out of him.
Why, are they after him yet?
Well, you're innocent, aren't you? Does $300 lay around every day for people to pick up? Some folks think the slave ain't far from here, and I'm one of them. A few days ago, I was talking to the couple who lives next door, and they happened to say hardly anyone ever goes to the island out yonder. They call Jackson's Island.
Don't anybody live there?
No, nobody.
Huck didn't say anything more. He'd seen smoke on the island, so he thought a slave might be over there. He hadn't seen any smoke since, so he reckoned he's gone, if it was him. But husband's going over there to see him and another man. He should be back today. Huck got nervous and shaky, and the woman looked pretty curious, and says to him,
$300 is a power of money. I wish my mother could get it. Is your husband going over there tonight?
He'll go after midnight. Oh, yes. He went uptown with the man I was telling you of to get a boat and see if they could borrow another gun.
Couldn't they see better if they was to wait till daytime?
Yes, and couldn't the slaves see better, too? After midnight, he'll likely be asleep, and they can slip around the woods and hunt for a campfire all the better, if he's got one.
I didn't think of that.
The woman looked at Huck, pretty curious, and he felt a bit uncomfortable.
What did you say your name was?
Mary Williams.
Huck was worried he didn't say Mary before, but maybe Sarah. He'd wished the woman would say more, so he could be a bit less uneasy.
Honey, I thought you said your name was Sarah when you first came.
Oh, yes, ma'am, I did. Sarah Mary Williams. Sarah's my first name. Some calls me Sarah, some call me Mary.
That's the way of it.
Yes, ma'am.
Huck was feeling a bit better then, but he'd wished he was out of there anyway. The woman fell into talking about how poor they was, and how hard the times had been, and how the rats was free, and they had owned the place. And Huck got easy again. She was right about the rats. You'd see one stick his nose out the hole every once in a while. She sewed he a bar of lead and twisted it up into a knot, and then she kept it handy to throw at them. Then she said she was a pretty good shot with them generally, but she'd wrenched her arm a day or two ago, and didn't know she could throw true. She watched for a chance, and bangled directly away at a rat. She missed, and said,
Ow! Try for the next one.
Huck acts like he wants to get away. Huck got the thing as the rat shone his nose, and he threw it at the rat as had the rat stayed where it was, it would have been tolerable sick.
That was first rate.
She reckoned Huck would hive the next one. The woman went on talking about her husband's matters and broke off to say,
Keep your eye on the rats. You better have that lead in your lap handy.
The woman dropped the lump into Huck's lap just at that moment, and he clapped his legs together on it, and she went on talking, but only about a minute. The woman looked off her hank and looked at Huck straight in the face and says,
Come on now. What's your real name?
What, ma'am?
What is your real name? Is it Bill or Tom or Bob or what is it?
Huck shook like a leaf.
Please don't poke fun at a poor girl like me, Mum. I'm in the way here.
No, you won't. Sit down and stay where you are. I ain't gonna hurt you. I ain't gonna tell on you neither. You just tell me your secret and trust me. I'll keep it, and what's more, I'll help you. Just tell me your secret and trust me. So will my old man if you want him to. So, you see, you're a runaway apprentice. It ain't anything. There ain't no harm in it. You've been threatened bad, and you've made up your mind to cut. Bless you, child. I couldn't tell on you. Tell me all about it. That's a good boy.
My mother and father was dead, and the law had bound me to a mean old father from a country 30 mile back the river. And he trained me so bad I couldn't take it no longer. He went away to be gone for a couple days, and so I took my chance and stole some of his daughter's old clothes, and cleared out, and I had been 3 nights coming these 30 miles. I traveled nights and did daytimes and sleep. And the bag of bread and meat I carried from home lasted me all this way. I had a plenty. I believe my uncle, Abler Moore, would take care of me, and so that's why I struck out of this town of Goshen.
Goshen? Child, this ain't Goshen. Goshen's 10 miles up the river. This is Petersburg. Who told you this was Goshen?
Why, a man I met at daybreak this morning. He told me when the roads fork, I must take a left, and 5 miles would fetch me to Goshen.
He was drunk, I reckon. He told you exactly wrong.
Well, he did act like he was drunk. But it ain't no matter. I'll fetch Goshen before daylight.
Hold on a minute. I'll put you up a snack. Say, when a cow is laying down, which end of her gets up first?
The hind man.
Well, then a horse?
The forward end man.
I'll say, which end of the tree does the moss grow on?
The north side, ma'am.
If 15 cows is browsing on the hillside, how many eat with their heads in the same direction?
The whole 15, ma'am.
Well, I reckon you have been in the country. I thought maybe you was trying to hoax me again. What's your real name now?
George Peters, ma'am.
Well, try to remember it, George. Don't try and say it's Alexander when you said it, and then say it's George Alexander when I catch you. And don't go about women in that old lad. You do a girl tolerable poor. But you might fool men. Maybe. Bless you, child. When you set out to thread a needle, don't hold the needle still and fetch the needle thread at it. Hold the needle still and poke the thread at it. That's the way a woman most always does it. But a man always does it the other way. And when you throw a rat or anything, hitch yourself up a tiptoe and fetch your hand over your head as awkward as you can. And miss your rat about 6 or 7 foot. Throw stiff-armed from the shoulder, like a girl, not from the waist or elbow like a boy. Why, I spotted you for a boy the minute you was threading the needle, and I contrived the other things just to make you certain. Now go to your uncles, Sarah, Mary, Williams, George, Alexander, Peter. If you get into trouble, send word for me. Keep the river road all the way, and next time you tramp, take some shoes and socks with you. You'll get to Goshen.
Huck went up the bank about 50 yards and slipped into where his canoe was. He jumped in and was off in a hurry. I don't have that page. Guys, I don't have it.
The middle be heard.
The middle be heard, a clock began to strike, and he stopped to listen. 11. Huck shoved right into the timber where his old camp used to be, and he started fire. And there lay Jim, sound asleep on the ground. Huck roused him out and said,
Get up and help yourself, Jim. There ain't a minute to lose. They're after us.
Jim never asked no questions or said a word, but Huck could tell he was scared. They put out their campfire and took the canoe out from the store and didn't see any boats around, only stars and shadows. They got out the raft and slipped along down where the shade passed the foot of the island, dead still, never saying a word.